Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
First on The Fan, a big weekend in college football. We're getting started right now over in Wake Forest. Number 10 Clemson, they're taking on Wake Forest in a big ACC matchup. Clemson right now, they're favored in that one by -21. The other big game going on in this 9 a.m. slate, Missouri, they're number 21 in the country. They're trying to get back on a roll. They're taking on UMass. They are 27.5-point favorites. At 12:30, you've got the Red River rivalry. Number 1, Texas taking on number 18, Oklahoma. Texas is favored by 17 there. That game started out as a -14.5 favorite for Texas, so that line has continued to move up. Also at 12:30, you've got number 4, Penn State taking on USC. Penn State right now, they're favored at -3.5. That's on the road. That game's going to be over on CBS. Then, of course, we get into the later slate at 4:30. You've got the Oregon Ducks hosting the Ohio State Buckeyes. That's a 2 versus 3 matchup. You're going to have the pregame show getting underway here right around 12:30 on 1080 The Fan, so make sure that you tune in and you listen to all of your Duck action, getting ready for the big one there. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Will Ortner at The Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand on the Odyssey app, The Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
The Fan is live on YouTube and Twitch, and now Windows. Will Darkins, hot air balloon attendant, frightened by technology.
I love you, but you're saying that this little old man, this dude was a clean 6'6".
We have the capability to build the 33rd best radio show in Portland. On Saturdays, about sports. The Sinner and the Saint will be that show. Better than they were before. Sportsier, funnier, more Labradoodles. The Sinner and the Saint Tailgate Show on 1080 The Fan, the
Odyssey
app, and 1080thefan.com.
Hey, happy Saturday morning, all you beautiful radio listeners. Hope you're having a wonderful start to your weekend, but let's check in with the most important man, substitute. It's Will Ortner. Will, what's going on?
Not much, man. How you doing?
I'm okay.
Doing all right?
I'm okay. I've had a rough football week.
Oh.
It's been a tough week of football. I was given tickets to 2 football games this week, both in Seattle. I've driven back and forth from Seattle twice, and came back with 2 L's, my friend.
So you're the guy I can blame for my Seahawks falling short?
You know how they say everybody in the Seahawks stadium wearing their navy and silver and green are just the loudest people? I wasn't good enough. I was not loud enough. I was wearing my Seahawks gear. I was yelling most of the time, but maybe I was just drinking too many beers, or just wasn't focused enough on the game. Found a burrito that was about the size of my head. I had to eat that for a little bit, so I wasn't cheering during that. It was
well, that's the issue right there. You weren't cheering during the burrito.
Probably my fault that we lost both games. But I go to the Giants game, I go to the Niners game, the Seahawks lose them both, and there's nobody to blame but myself.
You got to watch the film. We're gonna get better.
I got to get out there and
We're
be
going to
better.
fix it.
I had probably not been to a Seahawks game in probably, well, at least since my kids have been born, maybe even a little bit longer than that. So it's been at least 7 years, maybe 8 since I'd been to Lumen Field to watch a game. I've already been to 3 this year. I just keep piling them up. I went to opening week.
Okay.
I got us our win against Bo Nix. Almost got in a fight with a guy because I stopped to watch a field goal while I was walking down the stairs. So maybe I just didn't get enough fights during the last 2 games.
What are you trying to get into
wasn't
fights,
aggro
man?
enough. Well, listen.
What are you doing to get in a fight?
Well, I'm trying to jump the gun and get to the lavatory before the halftime break, right?
Okay.
And so I'm going down the stairs. I've already made it to the aisle, and I'm walking down the stairs, and I pause because the Broncos are kicking a field goal.
Yeah, makes sense.
And the guy behind me goes, "What are you stopping for?" I go, "They're kicking field goal." He goes, "You can't stop for field goals." I go, "Well, then what?"
You
What?
can stop for field goals.
I think you have to stop for a scoring play. It's like, even though it's the other team, people are trying to move it. And we're walking down the stairs. We're not walking up the stairs with full beers. We're walking down the stairs. The entire way to the bathroom, the guy wanted to fight me.
Yeah, I disagree with this guy. I think that guy is more aggro than you. Like, that's not on you.
He definitely was. Where I got aggro was I absolutely refused to apologize, which kept him going. Where I could have went just like, "Hey, sorry, man. You're right. I shouldn't have stopped to watch field goal. You're so smart. I'm so dumb, and my bad." But I refused to do that because I was like, "You're an idiot."
I would do
Shut
the
up.
same thing. I would do the same thing.
Yeah.
I'm going to be honest with you. I'd do the same thing.
Okay. Well, maybe I did.
That's-
Well, you know what?
It's on him.
I did the right thing there, and we won the game. So obviously I did the right thing, and he did he probably thinks he did the right thing. But he was also like little roided out guy.
Well, of course he was.
Yeah.
Dude who gets mad at football game is
Yeah.
either massively obese, way too into it fan,
Ooh.
or it's roided out little guy who's upset that he's 5'6".
Yeah. Niners. Okay. So I got tickets for both games.
Okay.
And I had no control over the seats. I didn't buy the tickets. They were offered to me, and I was like, "Yes, please."
Gotcha.
So Giants game, we're sitting in the end zone. We're sitting in the across from the Hawks nest in the end zone.
Okay.
Pretty nice seats, 100 section towards the back. Very nice seats. And disappointing game, right? I mean, the Seahawks were expected to beat the Giants, probably should have beat the Giants. We can talk about your theory, which I'm kind of in for. But disappointing game.
Mhm.
I don't remember a ton of chatter that was like, "We're the worst. This is unbelievable." From the opening snap
Yep.
of the game against the Niners, and maybe it's because we're playing the Niners, but I'm in the 300 section from the opening snap. "Oh, we're the worst. We can't do anything. We only got 2 yards on that play. We only got 8 yards on that play. We stink. Fire the coach. Fire the quarterback. DK's the worst." The entire game. It was nonstop. I hate our team. I can't believe this is our team. I can't believe this is our quarterback. What are we even doing here? There was one guy that was very loud. And he turned out to be like a tiny Asian man, which I found to be humorous because he was behind me, and I was like, "This guy sounds like he's like,
You got He-Man woman hater over there.
well, he just sounded like a big, dumb white guy." Turn around, little Asian guy. I was like, "Oh, this is kind of fun." But he had the big raspy voice. He was screaming the whole time, and he got so drunk that he didn't even come back for the second half. And everybody's like, "We need to get you down to like get some water or
We
something."
need to take you home.
And we never saw him again. Which, but total upset. He's wearing like the hiking vest and like khakis and the whole thing.
Hell yeah. We're just defeating stereotypes now. You
Which is
turned around
fantastic.
expecting to see me.
I totally did.
You were like, I'm going to see Will Ortner behind me.
I'm gonna see a guy wearing a Hawkinson sweatshirt and a Seahawks hat.
Yep.
That's totally what I
It was
expected.
going to be Will Ortner.
Oh, and it was not.
And it was a little
It was,
Asian guy.
it was not. It was delightful. It was absolutely delightful. But the disappointment from the 300 section immediately on every single play, like even when we scored, it was like, "Oh, finally." I don't know.
Well,
So a lot
just
of
run the touchdown play.
I know. A lot of theories going around. A lot of theories going around by why the Seahawks are in the skids. And I think sometimes you have to look for just the simplest explanation for things, right?
Yeah.
Like picking out the single player that we can blame for absolutely every one of these losses, figuring out the where the disconnect is between the coaching staff, how much of a talent gap there is between the league and whatever it is. I have boiled it down to what I think is the defining point of this 3-game stretch. NFL football is very hard. It is difficult to win games against any NFL team. That's what I've come up with. I know that it's not super poignant, and you can go a little bit deeper, and I still think it is pretty simplistic. You have a brand new coaching staff. You have a pretty good but not great quarterback. Your defense has been chipped up. All of those things I think are true. But even if they weren't, it's still hard to win football games. How many teams have won all of their games?
One.
Yeah. And when was that?
70s.
And how many games did they play?
14.
14. It's hard. It's
Everyone
hard to
should be
win.
impressed I knew that.
It's hard. You're pretty spot on with your knowledge of it. But Mercury Morris, R.I.P., would always pop the champagne and do the thing. There's one time it's ever happened in the history of the NFL. It is very, very difficult to win all your games. Listen, should they have beaten the Giants? Probably. Could they have beaten the Giants? Probably, but they got their field goal blocked, and it looks like a 9-point loss, even though it was really a 3-point loss.
Right.
Fine. Could they have beaten the Niners at points in that game? Maybe. Did you expect them to beat the Niners? Probably not.
No.
It's,
If you went at the beginning of the season and I said, Luke, the Seahawks are going to be 3-3 week 6, you'd be pretty happy with that.
I'd be perfectly happy with
They're
that.
right where they're supposed to be.
Yeah. I do not disagree with that. Now, the Giants loss, that's the one that I think people are going to circle and be like, that's a big disappointment. But
Fair.
But what's the theory that you're channeling for that loss?
Well, I mean, you're coming out of it getting beat up, and there's a talk right now that the team that beats you up the most, it's the Lions. Chris Long has been pumping this out on the Green Light podcast.
Okay.
His whole theory is after a team plays the Lions, it's such a physical, demanding game that just beats you up on both sides of the ball that teams are almost like punch drunk when they show up for the next game.
It's like the old Stanford hangover.
Right. It's
Yeah.
the Detroit Lions hangover, and it takes you a little bit to get going.
And when did they play that game against the Lions?
Monday night, they go short week.
Yeah.
And honestly, that's what it looked like.
Yeah.
It also looked a little bit, at least from my point of view, offensively, like the Giants just said, we are going to run slants and
Yeah.
get the ball out of Daniel Jones' hands.
Which was smart.
He's not going to have to make a bunch of reads. We're not going to ask him to do much. And it worked.
And what the other thing that they did, they go, if it's not there, just put your head down and run. He was taking on linebackers and hits the whole game. He's a big dude, and he's more athletic than he's given credit for because he's not a great
strong.
quarterback.
Yeah, he's strong. And look, at the end of the day, for him, you can't go a whole season doing that, but why couldn't you do it for a game or two while you try and get your body back?
Josh Allen did it until he figured out how to play quarterback. I mean,
Yeah.
that's you use the God-given gifts that you have as a young man so you can figure out how to play quarterback as an old man. And if you
Exactly.
can't figure it out when you're a young man, you don't have to play it when you're an old man. If you're good at talking, you go and you get on the broadcast and you go, hey, what they're trying to do here is this. I could never do it, but I know what they're trying to do. And I think those guys end up being better broadcasters than the guy that was like, oh, yeah, football's really easy because I'm Tom Brady. Have you ever heard the compilation of O's and Oo's from Tom Brady?
Oh, no. I haven't heard a Tom Brady game yet.
Neither have I.
I've stayed away.
But I will recommend you. Maybe you can find the sound for it in one of our breaks. But there's a compilation of O's and Oo's during plays on hot mics. That is the only thing I've been exposed to of the Tom Brady broadcast. But I've heard it's absolutely terrible.
Whoa. The fact that they put him right on the first group when
Which
you
was a terrible
had
idea.
Olsen.
Olsen was really good. He's still
Olsen
good
is
because
so
I
good.
have watched an Olsen game this year and I can't remember who he was with, but
He's good, man.
It still sounds great.
He is really, really good. And he's really good at taking complicated things and breaking them down.
Well, because he's a tight end. That's what you have to do to play tight end.
Right. Well, and you have Brady who he knows everything.
Yeah.
But is he going to be the best at explaining it? Because to him, it's just like, oh, yeah, you just.
Well,
throw
he
this and do
even
this
said
and-
before he retired, he's like, I retired, but the game keeps getting easier because it just slows down and down and down. But that's because he processes it so fast is the proper word. But anyways, the whole idea that there is a Lions hangover. So you get that on what is a short week. So you have 6 days to prepare for that. Then you have a 4-day stretch to get prepared for your biggest rival in the 49ers for Thursday night. So that is 3 games in 11 days with a new coaching staff where they have not had a chance to go, all right, guys, this is what we're trying to do. All new philosophy. I think it all boils down. Can you disprove my theory that it's just hard to win in the NFL?
Hey, you know what? My old O-line coach in college had a saying, there's a reason why those guys are scholarship too. Sometimes they just make a better play.
Yeah.
Happens.
No, there you go.
They pay Kyle Shanahan a lot of money
Yeah, you're playing
to win
against
games.
Yes. Yeah. So
He's pretty good at it.
That one was I think just a matter of like if you got out coached, okay. If they had better talent on the field, okay.
Yeah, if
their
they got
quarterback-
healthy, you weren't.
Yeah. Well, their quarterback, that Brock Purdy guy, he's pretty good.
Yeah.
He also, even without Christian McCaffrey back there, even without Brandon Ayuk, he's got weapons.
Yep.
He's got guys that he can throw. When George Kittle is on and healthy,
Mm-hmm.
pretty hard to stop.
Well-
when you don't tackle Deebo Samuel,
Mm-hmm.
he's gonna make big plays.
when you
Yep,
whiff
when
on
you-
Debo.
When you don't hit him and don't try to hit the ball, guess what? It's pretty easy to do.
Yeah.
And the one thing that people always forget, because there are so many weapons, and Brock Purdy is good at throwing the ball down the field and throwing within his timing and accurate so his guys can catch it and run it, it's a running offense.
Yep.
Kyle Shanahan wants to run the ball, and he doesn't care who's back there. I mean, if you go through the list of running backs that they've had, are you surprised that they made big plays in the running game?
No, especially when Trent Williams is back, because that dude is a road grader.
Yes. Yeah. So, anyways, three, like you said, after 6 games, the Seahawks are 3-3. If you feel like you expected them to be any better, it is just because you saw them win the first 3.
It's because Tua got hurt. That's the only reason.
Well, you know what? They've been in their 3 losses.
Fair.
The Lions are a very good team. Jared Goff did not throw an incomplete pass. And as they got into the fourth quarter, you're like, all right, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
It ended up being a no. They're playing a terrible game against the Giants. They're out of sorts the entire time. They can't get any consistency. They have a chance to kick a field goal to win the game. They're losing to the Niners 16-0 with 2 minutes left in the first half. They get it within a score late in the fourth quarter.
It's little mistakes, man.
It's ended up not
You're right
happening,
there.
but they
Yeah.
didn't get blown out in games that honestly, especially the Lions and the Niners, down 14-0, down 16-0, they very easily could have just turned over and gotten blown out in
Right.
both of those games, and you wouldn't have been surprised. But they didn't.
You
So-
fight. You have
so-
a team that fights.
So, is it a guarantee that if Tua's in there, they lose to the Dolphins? I would
No,
say
not
so.
necessarily.
They played the first half against the Broncos. Might have been the worst half of NFL football that anybody has played all year. You got safety twice and almost 3 times,
Yeah.
and you were well on your way to losing that game. They came back and they won that game. So I'm not going to say that they automatically would have lost. And the Broncos look like they're a football team that can win some games now.
Mhm.
The first couple weeks they did not. The Patriots, that game probably shouldn't have been as close as it was. It is what it is. They've been in every game, and that's really what you want, and you've won half of them.
100%.
Hard to win games in the NFL. There's a pretty big day of college football. Would you agree with that?
Yes, I would.
Okay, so we are going to start with the biggest and the baddest and the game that Game Day went to, because why wouldn't you? And the lovely Caitlin Olsen making picks. We will start in Eugene, Oregon, and we will move around the college football world from there. You are listening to The Sinner and the Saint on 1080 The Fan.
It's better.
Big day in college football today. This is one of those very, very exciting days where everybody is going to be glued to the football screen, except me. I don't know if you heard about October 12th, but October 12th is one of the top 5 wedding days of the year. That made a lot of national news. And everybody's like, oh, did you hear about all the weddings? People aren't going to be able to watch all these games on the thing because they're going to have to be at these weddings. Well, the whole time I was going, well, it's always my wife's birthday on October 12th, and it is anytime.
Rough for you.
Anytime. No, it's not. It's a fantastic day. Are you kidding me?
You're
My
right.
beautiful wife is having a birthday. We get to celebrate that. But my focus will not be exclusively on college football. I'll be watching games and scoreboards and doing all the things. But the number one priority is that. The other thing is my wife is a 49ers fan, so she went with me to the game on Thursday. So dude, I've been to 2 NFL games this week. I got my football in. I'm a bigger NFL fan than I am a college football fan. But, today's going to be a tough one to watch all of the action. And if last weekend's any indicator, where the games we didn't expect to be great were pretty great. I don't know how many people circled Vanderbilt to beat Alabama, but that did happen. It did happen, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
No, I remember it. The great Diego Pavia.
You know what? I don't know when or why, but I'd already watched a Vanderbilt game earlier this year.
Virginia Tech. Because
That
they
is-
upset them.
Pavia's great.
Pavia is awesome.
Pavia is the quintessential great college quarterback.
Yes, because he won't play professionally.
No, he will not.
But what he can do is unbelievable.
And he is also my argument why the transfer portal is great.
Yes, 100%. Because he this is actually his second team.
Yes.
Or third team, I mean.
Well, yeah, I don't know how many teams he's played for.
So he started out at some D2.
That's kind of what I figured the path was.
And
but
then he ended up at New Mexico State,
yep.
and now he's at Vanderbilt.
yeah, he was at like the directional private Catholic school, whatever it was. This is what I thought it was, but he may have been even JC.
New Mexico Military Institute.
There we
So
go.
that might
Yeah.
be a D3.
Yeah, he was not a high school recruit. He was not a big name going to a big school, and then he works his way up. Can you imagine if the transfer portal had as much activity now back when Josh Allen was playing for Wyoming?
Oh,
Where would
yeah.
Josh Allen have played his final year of eligibility if the transfer portal had the same juice that it did?
Anywhere but Clemson.
That's
He could have
true.
played anywhere but Clemson.
This is true. But imagine Alabama with or
Oh, gosh.
Oklahoma or Oregon with Josh Allen.
Right.
You know? I mean this is but Pavia, fantastic. That game was wonderful. We've had one college football game in the top 25 already this weekend. And who won it?
The upset team.
The Fighting Dillinghams, who now moved to 5-1 in the Big 12 and
They're
have jumped.
fun to watch,
Yeah.
man. And you
Well-
know who's quarterback? Local kid.
Yeah.
Sam Levitt. That's Westland's finest
there you
right
go.
there. They're fun. Scattaboo, or however you say his name, the running back.
Yeah.
That guy can run. That Arizona State team, excuse
Yeah.
me, has kind of turned into what I think a lot of people thought Arizona would be,
Yeah.
where they're like fun, they're frisky. They're not going to win the Big 12.
Arizona's not fun.
If they're throwing to McMillan, they're fun.
Yeah, well,
if they're not throwing
they're-
to McMillan, they're really not fun. Don't watch
Okay.
Arizona. If you could tune into Arizona games and on the side it said this play will go to McMillan, you should watch that play. If on the side it says play does not go to McMillan, don't watch that play. It's not going to be a fun viewing experience.
I am intrigued by Arizona BYU today. I guess is my point.
Yeah, but also BYU is fun, though.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are.
And that's a prime like 35-38 game.
This is what I'm thinking. This is what college football has a lot of teams that because of transfer portal and movement that you don't really know a lot about until a few weeks into the game. We kind of had, or a few weeks into the season. We've had this conversation on this show many times where it's like you go out of the gates. If you take the first 2 games, Oregon's terrible.
Yeah, the O-line was bad.
They're really bad.
And that's what killed them.
And then it gets
Early.
better. And then it gets better competition. Well, but here's the other thing: is how bad did that game look against Boise State?
For the first 2 quarters, it looked really bad because they were not on the same page.
Well, and it came down to without the special teams, they lose to BYU or lose to Boise State,
Correct.
right? I mean,
Yeah.
you without special teams, they should have, could have, would have lost that game without a couple lucky plays, and they need a last-second field goal to do it. Boise State might not lose another game. Should not. You can argue lose another game with their schedule, and I know they're not playing anybody. They'll have Oregon
Whoa.
State late in the season.
Fighting Rainbow Warriors today.
Yes. Okay. You've taken the Warriors.
No, but my brother, him and his lovely bride got married last weekend.
Yeah.
My honeymoon gift to them.
They're at the game?
Tickets to Hawaii, Boise State.
Hey,
let's go.
Have you ever been to a game at Aloha Stadium?
No. Well, it's not at Aloha Stadium anymore.
Oh, where are they
they're
playing?
on campus.
Are they really?
Yep. It is
Oh.
an on-campus stadium. I would not say that it's the nicest stadium.
Yeah. Are they fixing up Aloha Stadium?
I think they wanted to be on campus because not enough people were going. Now,
Oh.
if you looked at their on-campus stadium and you compared it to like Northwestern's like half stadium that they have to have for the
Yeah,
next 2 years, it's a similar capacity.
Gotcha. Well,
Not great.
they need to get back to Aloha Stadium. That was fun. I got to watch Colin Kaepernick beat up on the Warriors
Ooh.
there, and we were very, very drunk. But I just remember going to everybody in the group, going, "This guy's going to the NFL," and everybody's like, "Which guy?" And I'm like, "Oh, well,
Some of them, one of them.
yeah." So
Swear.
it was, it was a little bit difficult. So, did you see the bet that Ashton Genty has with his O-line?
It's fantastic. I got to cut my locks if I don't get 2,000.
He's getting 2,000 yards.
Dude, he's getting 2,000.
He's getting 2
Easy.
yards.
Do you know how long it takes to get his dreadlocks or locks, whatever you
Yeah,
want
yeah.
to call them, as long as he's got them?
He's keeping him.
He's never going to cut those things. He's going to get 2,000. Well, and the part that's crazy is if right now you look at his worst games,
Yeah, what is it? 167 or what?
they're 2 games that he got pulled at halftime.
Yes.
The team that has
But
slowed him
100
down
but he's
the best,
he's over 150 yards.
the team that stopped him the most,
Yeah.
the best that a team has done against
Yep.
him, your Portland State Vikings.
That's
126 yards, no touchdowns, 13 carries.
he had more. Oh, was it all-purpose yards? He was over 150 yards in that, wasn't he?
He might have been
Let me pull-
all-purpose
now I
over
need to-
150. I think it's 126,
All
and
right.
it's on like 13 carries.
Yeah.
And it's because
Well,
they were like,
he's
you got to
averaging
play the
what?
first quarter. He's unbelievable, dude.
He's at 1,000 yards. He is averaging. This is 14.3 yards per carry.
Have you seen his stat line for the Mountain West?
Oh, it is only 127. You're right. Yeah, 127 against that with a long of 68 on 11 carries.
So,
11 carries for
11.
127.
Oh my goodness! In the Mountain West right now, he is obviously the leading rusher.
He's the leading rusher in all of college
The
football. Yes.
second leading rusher is Ashton Genty after contact.
Wow.
And then it's 100 yards, and then it's like the Utah State kid
Yeah.
or something like that.
Yeah, no receptions against Portland State either, but yeah, and no touchdowns.
Well,
That game's going to keep him from winning the Heisman.
I think that they knew going into that one, like
56-4.
we can
Right.
save him a
Yeah,
little bit, and I
yes.
don't think that they understood just what he was going to be. Like, oh,
Yeah.
we're just gonna have this kid that every time he touches the ball, it's gonna be 10.
Yep.
And then at different points throughout the game, he's gonna break 3 or 4 gigantic explosives.
So Utah State, he ran the ball 13 times for 186 yards and 3 touchdowns.
All in the first half. The best part is you turned on the game. His
me a break,
first
dude.
rush,
Yeah.
rush was a house call. He breaks 3 tackles, cribs it. Against Washington State, their first drive
Dude.
was 74 yards. He had all of them.
Yes. Yes.
He's unbelievable.
Dude,
and
just-
it's a good O-line. It's not
Yeah.
a great O-line. He's just running through dudes.
taking Cameron Quinn Ewers with the first pick if you have it.
I would be more likely to take Quinn.
Yeah, but come on, he's going to be something else because I think just watching him run, it's going to translate to the next level too. He's just got it all. Hawaii, UNLV, San Diego State, Nevada, San Jose State, Wyoming, and they finish with Oregon State.
UNLV is going to be the only
Yep.
team that can legitimately, possibly keep him under 200 and not because he's getting pulled. Like
Yeah.
Utah State
Yeah.
kept him under 200, but because Boise State was like, yeah, we're good.
Yep.
We're good here. We won. It's
Yep.
over.
Yep.
UNLV has a good enough defense to where he might only get 150, which is a hilarious statement.
San Diego State, I'm not as concerned about after watching what the Beavs were able to do them. San Jose State is usually something. Oregon State, maybe.
Oregon State's okay.
Man,
They're an okay team.
it's going to be something to watch. The only thing stopping him from winning the Heisman Trophy is Travis Hunter.
If Travis Hunter stays
Travis
healthy
Hunter.
all the way
That's the
through,
only thing. That's the only thing. That'll be a disappointing year because I love when it's a non-quarterback. Like, but you have to give it to one of those two guys.
yeah, because even
Like, it was Jalen Milroe was leading and he's out after last week.
yeah, well, look at Cam,
And Cam
Ward,
Ward.
too. Cam Ward, you're like, well, he has this great comeback against Cal. Well, why do you think they were down?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, the defense
Well-
gave up a couple explosives. He threw the worst interception.
Didn't he throw two picks
ever.
against Virginia Tech and then won it on a play?
Yeah.
Won it because of a play. Cam Ward's out.
All of his Heisman moments are self-inflicted.
Yeah. And if Boise State goes one loss, with their only loss being against Oregon, that's going to look pretty good, depending on what happens today. And we will talk about Oregon, Ohio State, and we will do it next after this Sports Center update.
Going on right now, we have 3 top 25 matchups. The first one, you've got Alabama, number 7 team in the country, fresh off their upset to Vanderbilt. They're leading South Carolina 7-0 right now. There's 3:45 left to go in the first quarter. South Carolina is driving.
In non-ranked action, 5:06 left in the first. Undefeated Army with a 13-3 lead over UAB.
Love Army right now.
Yeah.
You've got 3 minutes left to go in the first. Number 10, Clemson. It is 0-0 against Wake Forest. Wake Forest, they have the ball on their own 32, 3rd and 5.
Explain to me how College Game Day was not in for Maction. 1-4 Ball State at 0-5 Kent State. The Redbirds up 10-0 right now. 1:46 left in the first.
And Missouri, they look like a team that is fired up and upset. They're number 21 in the country, fresh off their butt whooping to Texas A&M. They're up 14-0 right now on UMass. There's 2:34 left to go in the first. UMass is driving. It's 2nd and 4 on the Mizzou 34.
And finally, in the games you need to know, Toledo trailing Buffalo 7-0. 4:55 left in the first.
More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Will Ortner at the Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand on the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080. The Fan.
I'm Leif Hansen, owner of Leif's Auto Collision Centers. We've been helping with the document
big football game in Eugene, and I don't know what this means, but my computer just gave me a weather like a little ping alert in the bottom right hand corner. It's got the Windows weather thing.
Ooh.
I don't think I've ever seen this on there. It says 55 and sunny right now, but it's alternating with a high pollen warning. Any chance that the Buckeyes are allergic to whatever's floating through the air in the Willamette Valley?
The only thing that I've known them to be allergic to is the Wolverines.
But boom! What happened the last time they played the Ducks? I believe that was a home game. Do you remember?
I do remember that. That's the great CJ Verdell game where he has like two 60-yard touchdowns.
Anthony Brown leading the way. CJ
People
Verdell.
Forget.
Mario Cristobal going in and eating Ryan Day's lunch.
That was a game where most Oregon fans were saying they were going to be excited if they lost by 10.
Yeah.
Because you had no Kayvon Thibodeau.
Yep, that's
who
right.
was-
He's standing on the sideline just
Here's your big start. Well, 'cause he gets banged up against Fresno State. and
yeah.
You struggle
Gets
really
rolled up
bad
on.
against Fresno State. And it's
Yeah.
like, well, I guess if we lose by 10, we're happy.
Yeah.
And then you win, and then it's like, oh my God, we're going to the ship.
We're winning the whole thing.
Ship. And then you don't even win the Pac-12.
Yeah. Well, speaking of not winning the Pac-12, Dan Lanning never won the Pac-12. So let's.
So far.
Hey. Well, listen. He's never going to win the Pac-12.
That's true. Dang it. You win this round. That's not true. What if he ends up at Fresno State? Just you wait.
Fair point.
He's like, you know what? I've had it too easy at Oregon.
Okay.
Fresno State
Can
title.
I just this very quickly before we get into the game, because I do want to get your thoughts on this game. I am too simplistic to give anybody a breakdown. Honestly, I just want it to come down to the final play. I am not a Ducks fan. I am certainly not an Ohio State fan. I just want this to be a great football game in my head. So I'm trying to talk myself into that, and I can go through all the reasons why I think it could be or should be or would be, but I do want to get your breakdown of the game. But if the Pac-12 as constituted remains the Pac-12 when they end up with 8 teams, I'm going to lose my mind. I can barely handle the Big Ten and the Big 12 not having 10 or 12 teams. If the Pac decides not to match the number to the number of schools, I will lose it. I will just go and burn down all the institutions.
I think instead of it being like, so let's say
just
they get
call
the
yourself
8.
the Pacific Coast Conference.
Well, but you're
Or
going to have to
Pacific-
change
the
it.
Pac West or whatever you want it to be. I don't care if it's a Pac 8. It once was the Pac 8. Just switch it up.
Yes, but you're going to have to change it, though, because for basketball, you're going to have at least Gonzaga. So, like, for football, you'll be like the 8-pack, and then you'll be back to the 10-pack. I think that the Pac should switch it up. So
Just be the Pac.
Well, but instead of going like Big 12 or Big 10 or, whatever,
Yeah.
be like the 10-pack,
Just
the
be
8-pack.
just be the Pac. The
Ooh.
SEC is just the SEC.
We are the Pack.
We are the Pac.
Yeah, and the
And you can't be
ACC
Conference
is-
of Championships because they all left with the other teams. I mean, I guess you got the few baseball championships. Does Washington State have a bunch of championships that I don't know about?
Maybe in drinking. I don't know that they have any other.
All
titles.
right, enough. Let's not let the 2-pack drag us down as currently
it sounds.
constituted. Young man,
Yes.
what the hell is going to happen in Eugene today?
Right now, this game is going to be won in the trenches, and it's simply going to be, can Ohio State's offensive line stop this vaunted Oregon defensive line? I mean, Derek Harmon has been just creating havoc. Now, obviously, on message boards, the big rumor is what's going to happen with Jordan Burge.
Yep.
I'll tell you right now,
What's the latest?
my understanding is he's going to be a game time decision.
Okay.
He had an issue in practice. Now, no one truly knows what happened. I was grilling Dusty yesterday.
Yeah.
That dude is a steel trap. He's not letting anything out.
Yeah.
No one truly knows, aside from the people that are in that football program, what his injury is, right? Because, you don't even know right now, did he get rolled up on? Is it a non-contact? You don't know.
If it's lower body or upper body makes a huge difference.
1,000% at that position. No one really knows. So if Jordan Burch goes, even if he does, you're not getting a full version of Jordan Burch.
You would think.
That defensive line, however, is deep. Derek Harmon right now is leading the Big Ten, and I think he's one of the top guys in college football when it comes to interior defensive lineman pressure rates. He's creating havoc in the backfield.
I was gonna look it up for you, and then I was like, I'm not typing in interior defensive line
who
pressure
cares?
rates.
It's PFF. it's a nerd speak.
Yeah. No, I'm with
He's
you.
really good, and he gets in the backfield a lot. Mateo Uyunglele and Tatum Tuioti have to have a big game. Because I think what Chip Kelly is going to do is put the two younger players in a position where they have to make a decision, and they have to make a decision quickly. Will Howard, you're going to see him added into the +1 run game. So he's going to start running the football more, and they're going to start doing more of that zone read stuff.
How much do you think we've seen of the full playbook for either of these teams?
I think that Stein has shown more because Stein wants you to have to prepare for more. Kelly has shown you less because Kelly wants to have it in the bag so you aren't ready for it.
Yeah.
It's two very different opinions on how to get the most out of how you want to attack a defense.
Well, and the other thing is you have year 1, year 2 with these coordinators, right? So we've
and
got
quarterbacks, both transfers.
Well, yes, but I guess Will Stein, you saw what his philosophy is and everything. Yes, it's been a long time since we've seen Chip Kelly as a offensive coordinator, and you've never seen him as an offensive coordinator with this type of weapons. I mean, save his time in the NFL, but that was even a head coach. That's not where he just has to prepare for one side of the ball and has to just do one thing. When he did it at Oregon, it was with smaller, faster guys, and when they played, was it LSU?
Yep.
Where they
He
go
ran into the big dogs.
Yeah, and he goes, well, I want the big, fast guys too. We just can't get them right now. Like, he wanted to have the same players that LSU had. So the idea that they chose smaller, faster because it was some sort of advantage. No, he wants the guys that can run like DeAnthony Thomas that are built like DK Metcalf.
Right.
They just don't go to little old Oregon. Well, now Oregon has those horses.
Right.
And no longer has Chip Kelly, and there's no question that what's the freshman kid's
Smith, Jeremiah Smith, dude is unbelievable.
God.
And he might not be the one.
What's that?
Ibuka might be the one.
Yes, well,
Like,
but
you can make an argument for Ibuka, so you have two legitimate ones on 98% of the teams in the country.
yeah, well, what in the NFL, I think they're both number ones.
Yeah, like they're that freaking good.
But I guess what I'm saying is a guy like Jeremiah Smith is going to what was his final choice between Ohio State, Alabama, Georgia, and where LSU maybe
Probably.
But you know what I mean. It's
Right.
it's there's those guys come along very rarely, and they go to one of those schools, and so having those toys to play with, and you're Chip Kelly, and for the first time in a long time, you're thinking about one side of the ball. It seems a little bit scary.
Right. It's an advantage for you.
If they've showed less, that scares me. Sorry, I will let you continue
you're
on
all
where
good.
you were going. But between those two offensive coordinators, but I don't think we've seen, because Dylan Gabriel is a very different quarterback than Bo Nix.
Yes, he wants to run more.
I don't think we've seen the full gauntlet of what Will Stein has in mind for that offense either. And it feels very much, and Dan Lanning has said so, where it's like, yeah, there's definitely some things that we've kept a little close to the vest, and if we don't have to show them, we won't. But
Right.
this is what you save them for.
Right. Well, and the other thing, too, and why I say it'll be one in the trenches, defensive line-wise, whether you have Birch or not, you're going to have to make plays because if you're making plays there, you're making them in the backfield. And I think the way for Oregon to win, at least defensively, is make Will Howard beat you through the air.
Yep.
He is a very good running quarterback, and he does a lot. We just talked about Diego Pavia. He does a lot of the same things that Diego Pavia does, where he's attacking you in the run game where he's beating you up. Well, then they have a route that's right behind it. You step up as a linebacker to come hit him. He throws the ball over your head. He's also great at making those reads in the zone. Offensively, your offensive line, which has greatly improved since the first two games, because you finally moved Poncho over to center. Now everyone's on the same page. So when you mess up, at least you all mess up together.
Yeah.
You can still do some good things when you do that. If Oregon can keep the run game going and get Jordan James at least serviceable so that Ohio State, and he's been more than that.
He's been great. His pad level at contact is
such a great running back. He runs through dudes.
Yes.
He's an old school physical back, but he also has the speed to get away.
Well, but the thing that gets me about him too is how he can get so low, make contact, and stay on balance.
Right.
That's a rare gift.
He's got the wide running that like Marshawn Lynch had, where he's never narrow, and because he's never narrow, he never really gets top heavy, and so he can just go. But if you can keep the run game up and you can keep the run game to a point where Ohio State has to play for it, that's going to get you those one-on-one matchups on the outside. And then you have to have Dylan Gabriel take advantage of them because we've seen him at different points this year leave some meat left on the bone where Evan Stewart's running by
zone
himself.
The last couple weeks. I mean, I know that
the red zone turnovers are bad.
Well, especially because
happen.
it feels very much like Oregon wants to have a 12-play drive, which means there's more opportunity for mistakes. And when those mistakes are made in such spots where you don't have to force the ball,
right?
They're trying to force the ball against Michigan State. Those 2 picks were awful. The one at the end of the half against UCLA. Well, and that one was worse because it's a pick 6, and it was just completely unnecessary.
Well, your wide receiver fell, but he was already in double coverage.
The whole thing was just ugly. But you cannot make those kind of mistakes against Ohio State. And the thing is with Dylan Gabriel, it struggles for me to think back to the biggest games that he played at Oklahoma and the biggest games that he's played at UCF.
Yeah.
This is the biggest game he will have ever played in.
Yes, 100%.
And so, what is his poise under pressure? What is his next level? Because if it is more trying to make big plays, like he was trying to force those balls in, it's bad news for the Ducks.
Yep. Well,
real bad news. If it's protect the ball and do the little things, put your body on the line a little bit more in the run game, I think that's a big opportunity for Oregon to take advantage.
Yep.
But if it's trying to force more balls into places they don't belong, like we've seen the last couple of weeks, yikes.
I wonder too if this is the game where Tez becomes a decoy. What he has done all year long is lock in on Tez Johnson, and this would be the game where you run a similar concept. You run a flood concept where Tez had been the main guy as the middle, and now you take the deep shot to Stewart or to Holden, right?
Yeah.
You have 3 wide receivers that have shown at any moment they can house call it, but it feels like you've locked in on one specific guy.
Yeah.
Can you start to spread the ball around and make it look like, hey, we're running this play for Tez.
Yeah.
But now we're going to take advantage of you somewhere else. If Oregon can do that, I like their chances. It's going to be a really good game.
I cannot wait. Let's go. It's going to be very exciting. We'll get back to it in hour 2. We need to get to good versus evil. We do that next. This is The Sinner and the Saint on 1080 The Fan.
Need a one-stop shop?
happened? What has happened to the national interest?
No time to form your own opinions?
I stand before you here today in the midst of gnarly times.
Well, no worries, brah. Let the sinner and the saint shred the gnar while you just sit back and ride the wave. It's time for Good versus Evil, brought to you by the Titan of Hawaiian Restaurants, 808 on 1080 The Fan.
Royal season now in the hands of the right-hander hitting Gurriel. He must get on base to give the Royals a chance, and a fly ball to center. Aaron Judge is there and makes the catch. And for the Royals, the season is over.
That was the Royals Radio Network in Kansas City. Yankees win the ALCS 3-1. The New York Yankees are going to win because Big Bad Houston is no longer in the playoffs. They're going to win, and they're going to be the AL champion. Not World Series champion, AL champion.
You're taking them to win the AL over whoever wins. They're playing today, right? The Guardians and Tigers.
I think the Tigers win because they got Scooble.
Tigers feel like the team of destiny. Nobody wants the Yankees to win in the playoffs, but I think it's better for baseball the later they lose in the playoffs. So if they make it to the World Series and fall flat, unless it's against the Dodgers, then I think everybody wins, where you get the big ratings, you get all of that. Mm-hmm. If you can get the Luis Gonzalez walk-off of Mariano Rivera, that's what everybody really wants, even though they won't admit it. They want them out as quick as possible, and my team needs to beat them. If you don't have a rooting interest, it's really better for baseball. But I love the Detroit Tigers and what they had to do. They sell at the deadline, and then they just end up roll. Well, and they absolutely steamrolled the Mariners end of July, early August, and they played 6 times in 9 games and beat them 5 out of 6.
Yeah.
And it ended the Mariners season for all intents and purposes, and it saved the Tigers season, and then they really started rolling. So I like the team with momentum. The Guardians have been good all year, but Scooble is going to win the Cy Young.
Yeah, he's been awesome.
And if he does this, it's just another feather in his cap for what's been a ridiculous year. So I don't think it's a foregone conclusion. It comes down to pitching. If you're pitching Scooble in Game 5, that means you don't have him early in the ALCS. But you know what? I'm just one of those guys that you don't win it unless you go out and earn it, and I don't think the Yankees are an unstoppable force, and I don't think the Dodgers are either. I think this has been a really good playoff to start, and I'm going to sit back and hopefully be pleasantly surprised when the Tigers go to the World Series.
Swing and a drive, right center field, that one back, gone! It's gone! Francisco Lindor, a grand slam!
That is Francisco Lindor. That was by John Shabby, ESPN Radio. Obviously, Lindor hits the grand slam. Mets go on. They win. They beat the Phillies 3-1. They have the best vibes. Feel a bit of team of destiny.
I just said the Tigers feel the team of destiny on the other side. There's no question the Mets, dude. New York, Detroit would be electric in my mind, just from like what happened at the end of the season with baseball, because it's not the best team all year that wins World Series championships. It's the best team at the end of the year, and getting the combination of timely hitting and great pitching, and I'm all in for that series if we can make it happen. Obviously having Shohei against Aaron Judge, even though they're not pitching against each other, but having the star power that would be involved with the Yankees-Dodgers World Series would be outstanding. But from a just buckle up and play, and the Mets started playing playoff games midway through the season. The Tigers started playing playoff games midway through the season, so I wouldn't count on the big payrolls winning, but the big moments winning. So let's effing go.
And the best part is they're actually low key.
You're not going to play me Teoscar winning it for the stupid Dodgers, are you?
No. Only 2 baseball things.
That's what I
me.
thought. That's what I thought you were going to throw at me.
Only
and watching
2
a former
things.
Mariner who you've jettisoned just in the last year go out and just rip the biggest hits of the year for the team with the highest payroll and just make them out of barf.
couldn't handle it.
They're one day away from the massive game against the Ohio State Buckeyes. How do you feel? How are the emotions? And how do you think Eugene, Oregon's about to be?
This is what college football is about. I'm really excited for our team, certainly excited for our fans. This is going to be a fun one.
Now, you guys are a wagon, have been for a while. First year in the Big Ten. How has that gone? Obviously, it's your first massive Big Ten test. How has the transition gone thus far, and what are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, we're enjoying it. I think there's going to be a lot of great traditions that get to start from this move for us, getting to play some elite teams and get to be a part of an awesome conference.
That's Dan Lanning on ESPN's Pat McAfee show, giving absolutely nothing away.
Can I just trash Pat McAfee for a second?
Sure.
That's the dumbest question I've ever heard. Listen, at the end of the year, ask him how the transition to the Big 12 or Big 10 has gone. Okay, what? Tell me again the Big 10 games that they've played.
They played UCLA, known Big Ten power.
Yes.
And
In the Rose Bowl. Oh, one of those historic Big Ten stadiums.
And Sparty.
At home. Even this game is at home. You don't, Big Ten football is what?
Cloudy, rainy, lots of punts.
What you do at the end of the year in 100,000-seat stadiums, the weather is terrible, and you're playing a traditional power. They're going to Cap Randall, and they are going to the Big House this year. Ask him that question after those games. Pat, that is a stupid question, and you're an idiot. Put your shirt on.
So on this one, you've got the big game. I know we've already gone through our breakdown.
We'll hit it again in hour two.
You have to.
Yeah.
It's the most important game of the weekend, or is it?
It is. Yes. Yeah.
It is. Yeah.
I'd like to pretend that it's number 2 against number 3 in the country. I mean, you could try to make an argument for Texas, Oklahoma, but if Oklahoma wins that game, this is a huge upset. I mean, I know it's still Oklahoma, and it's a rivalry game, and it's an SEC battle, which is funny that these are both things. This is a conference game that pits number 2 against number 3. The only way it would get close is if Oklahoma, Texas was 1 and 4. But number 2 against number 3 in conference, it's the biggest game of the year so far.
Right. Well, and
not just the weekend.
And the crazy thing is, this is a great weekend because you mentioned the Red River rivalry. You know what other game you didn't mention? Same time. Ole Miss.
LSU.
And LSU, number 9 versus number 13.
They're great. It's not number 2 against number 3. It's the biggest game of the year. You can look back and go, the Vanderbilt-Alabama game was the biggest game of the year, but you didn't think that going in. As far as hype, as far as anticipation, this game was supposed to be played in Eugene in 2020, but there was a thing called COVID, and the entire Northwest caught on fire, so they did not get to play that game. Dan Lanning needs to win a big game. The offensive coordinator in his first year is a guy that put Oregon's offense on the map years and years ago. This is just... all the things are big about this game. Let's effing go. I just wanted to be played. This as soon as it got scheduled, it was the biggest game of the year.
All right, let's get to my favorite story. My favorite story so far over the weekend, Malik Neighbors. He's been out for the Giants with concussion issues. Spotted at the Travis Scott concert in MetLife Stadium on October 9th. Going out and partying despite missing the game. When will these wide receivers learn that just stay home? If you're not playing or not playing well, just stay home.
Never. Wide receivers are dumb. That's why they play wide receiver. Listen, they have all the physical skills to do anything else, but they chose to play wide receiver because it's the easiest position, if you're big, fast, strong, to go out and just catch the ball. Listen. I played wide receiver because it was I like having fun playing football. And if I was really, really good at it, then you get that big head, you're the big game changer. Mm-hmm. So many things have to happen correctly for the ball to get thrown your direction. And then you have to do the things right to make your quarterback look good. And if you don't, and it gets picked off, guess who gets blamed? Your quarterback. Mm-hmm. So you escape all of the criticism most of your life, and then you get to the NFL, and somehow you still make $30 million or get picked in the first round because of your God-given gifts that you've done a few things to maximize. Like the guys that can't catch the ball with the same skill traits have to guard you and get all the blame when the touchdown goes over. It is a position that is just filled with This guy's amazing. Glory, glory to the wide receiver. This guy, did you see that catch? Did you? Because when you do it right, there is no more fun position in football to exalt than the wide receiver. When it goes wrong, you blame everybody else because it's the quarterback, it's the offensive line. They're not throwing me the ball enough. When they do throw it, other than drops, which usually are skirted over, there's not a lot of blame that you get. You get all the glory. You get very little of the failure in it, and that builds these giant egomaniacs, and they think they can do no wrong, and it will always be that way. And the money is only getting larger, and the personalities are only getting more justification for their behavior. Because guess what? When he does come back, if he goes out and he's great, next time he gets a concussion, and one of his favorite artists is in town, he's going to do the same thing.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
So, anyways, that's how I feel about wide receivers. And again, I was a wide receiver. Now, wasn't very good.
On wide receiver crime.
That's right. No, I'm not saying it's a crime. It's you get in those echo chambers. You get all those people that build you up. That is just one of those positions that naturally feeds into it.
Fair.
It just flat out is.
Fair.
So there you go. It's not their fault. I don't blame the wide receivers. I blame the position of wide receiver. No, it's just there's certain things that naturally fall into that. That is our good versus evil. It is brought to you by our friends at 808 Hawaiian Restaurant. I have a very good idea for you today. If you're going to sit down with a big group of friends and watch the Oregon-Ohio State game, do it with 808 Hawaiian food. You can order it right on their website, ate-oh-ate.com. Pick it up in Woodstock, Burnside, or in Beaverton, and eat Hawaiian food while you watch the biggest game of the friggin' year. Hour 2 coming up next. Center Saint, 1080 The Fan.
From the Fan Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
Couple of top 25 matchups going on right now. Still all in the first half. Number 7, Alabama leading 14-0 over South Carolina. Number 10, Clemson has scored 2 touchdowns in the second quarter. They are now up 14-7 over Wake Forest. And then Missouri, they're running away with this one against UMass. They're up 21-3. The Red River rivalry kicks off at 12:30 over on ABC. Number 1, Texas takes on number 18, Oklahoma. Texas is minus 17 in that one. That means they're favored by 2 scores and a touchdown. At 4:30 here on The Fan, you've got number 2, Ohio State traveling to Eugene to take on number 3, Oregon. Right now, Ohio State is favored by 3 in that one. You're going to want to stay here on 1080 The Fan. We're going to have the pregame show, the game, and the postgame show all here, so make sure that you don't turn that dial. The other big game at 4:30, you've got number 9, Ole Miss taking on number 13, LSU. Right now, Ole Miss is favored by 3.5 in that one. It feels like loser of that game will probably be out of the playoff contention. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Will Ortner at the Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand on the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
Tired of getting dinged by subscriptions? We won't send you a bill. Portland's sports leader, 1080 The Fan. Sports.
Oh, this is so good.
The Final Frontier. These are the voices of the sinner and the saint.
Did you really think that after absolutely blowing your butt out in game 1, did they blow their butt out? Yes, they blew their collective butts out to try to get that win.
Oh, their weekly mission to provide hot takes, medium takes, mild takes, to boldly go where no show has gone before.
Take me to Flavor Town.
Luke Anderson.
You're welcome. You're welcome, world.
Will Darkins.
I know what you're thinking. What will the butt test tell us that the nose test didn't?
The Sinner and the Saint Tailgate Show on 1080 The Fan. The
Odyssey
map.
It's just turned into a gigantic Mexican.
And 1080thefan.com.
Hour 2! If you missed anything from Hour 1, shame on you. Try to be better. But don't worry, podcast available on 1080thefan.com. It will be available on Odyssey.com, Odyssey app. Are we on YouTube this morning, Will?
We are on
Yeah,
YouTube.
go get it on
and
YouTube.
Twitch.
And Twitch?
Yeah, we're YouTubing and Twitching.
Woo-hoo-hoo. We've started working on the 1080 The Fan cave. So hopefully we'll get that.
Ooh.
Just outside the doors here. You've seen the furniture being rearranged.
That's why we're moving furniture.
Oh, yeah. They're going to get the TV up, and we're going to do a YouTube stream
Ooh.
of a place to watch games here at the station, which is
We're
going to
gonna
be
do streams.
kick ass.
We're getting into streaming.
I think that's a plan.
You can hear me
yeah.
say very bad cuss words.
No, I think they're going to shut the sound off, so it'll just be like a live look-in, and then we'll just have people down here to hang out and watch games. It's going to be fantastic.
You know who's going to be the best on that?
You.
No.
It's going to be all the Office guys.
Schultzy. Jordan
Yeah.
Schultz. Having to watch Mariners like middle of July baseball.
Yep.
And watching his anger and his freak out. There will be nothing better.
Don't undersell the passion of the sales team, of the promos people, and everybody doing that and just making fun of each other. Because Schultz, yes, will be a central figure, but the off-air personalities here will be as much fun as the on-air personalities, which will be great. We're a little off the clock. I blame you entirely.
That's fair.
If you're just joining the show, Will Ortner in for Will Darkins. Normally, we're right on the clock, but get a new producer, and we're a little bit off.
We were having important conversations.
I don't disagree. There are 2 things I want to get to very quickly. One is an update, which is Washington is tied with Iowa 7-7. They just turned the ball over, it looks like, in the very much in Iowa territory. Is Washington any good?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Kind of. Guess what? Ask me if I was any good.
Were you any good?
No, Iowa.
Is Iowa any good?
Yeah.
Well, no, but the reason I asked about Washington is that's the final game for the Ducks this season. So just trying to figure out my level of how much I need to care about Washington. If they win this game, does it mean a whole lot? I mean, they're not going anywhere. We know that. They've already got 2 losses.
It's the difference between an 8-win team and a 7-win team, probably.
Yeah. Okay.
Like, that's about it. Also, I hate Rutgers.
Yes, we know that. You've made that very
Didn't
clear,
get full
at least in the breaks during this show. The other one is we talked a little bit about the Jordan Burch injury. Pete Thamel gave us an update this morning on ESPN, so I wanted to get that out to everybody. Oregon Star defensive end Jordan Burch's status against Ohio State on Saturday night is in flux after he suffered a lower body injury in practice. Thursday's sources told ESPN Burch suffered a non-contact lower body injury while going through practice drills. He was helped from the field and appeared to be in considerable pain. Got it?
Good. Not good.
So
Not good, Bob.
makes him a game time decision, lower body, non-contact. The fact that he's still a game time decision means it's not something catastrophic. It is not his Achilles. It's not his ACL. It's not something to that effect. But a 80% Jordan Burch better than the alternative?
In certain spots.
So if you have him playing 80% of the snaps at 80%,
I would be playing him on third downs and crucial need stop.
Yeah, so he gets
drives.
50% of the plays at 80%. And he's somebody you have to key in on. I mean,
Yep.
it makes it changes your
You
decision
got to
making
chip him
process.
with the tight end. You got to chip him with the running back. If he can go and you're getting 80% of Jordan Burch, you have to use him not sparingly, but you have to be smart about how you use him.
Yeah.
That's a good sign for Oregon.
Who was missing the last time Oregon played Ohio State?
A little guy known by the name of Kayvon Thibodeau.
Okay. We'll try to get back on the clock, but right now it is time for a Ducks game day traffic and weather update. We'll do these every 10 minutes, and they're brought to you by Victor Rico's Mexican food. Order Victor Rico's for your game day celebration in-store or online for pickup or delivery at victorricos.com. Here's Will.
Thanks, Luke. Right now,
welcome.
it's going to take an hour and 43 minutes to get from Portland to Autzen Stadium. There's some slow up right now as you're getting out of the city of Portland, and then a little bit just north of Salem and north of Albany. There's some Smokies also down in Eugene, so be careful when you're heading that way. Right now, it is 55 degrees and sunny in Eugene. At game time, it looks like it's going to be about 74 degrees when the Ducks take on Ohio State.
Auto accident? Let Life's Auto Collision Centers
The heat is on. Glenn Fry is not messing around. He's not alive, but he's also not messing around. The heat is definitely on. I'm very confused by what's going on in this studio.
What do you mean?
So I've got 4 TVs in here, 3 of which are on. One has the big 1080 The Fan logo behind me so that you know that you're listening to 1080 The Fan when you watch us on YouTube, which it's a bunch of logos everywhere anyways, but it's there. And then the 2 screens in front of me, one is just off. The other one has Big Noon Saturday, and it's Iowa, Washington.
Yeah, it's Big Nooner.
So I'm watching the Big Nooner here. And then during the break, I go to look behind me, and it's also the Big Nooner.
Well,
but it's
so
delayed
big.
by like 2 minutes.
Well, it's so big it deserves.
Yes, but
2
the
TVs.
one behind me is 2 minutes behind. I turn around and I look at the big. I'm like, I just watched that play. So I don't know what is going on where I've got, like, if I miss something on the screen in front of me, I just look at the one behind me and I can see what I missed. It's very weird. It's throwing me off. So my brain hurts a little bit right now, or maybe I'm having a stroke or a seizure. So if what I'm saying is just mumbles, come and get me out of here.
I'll make sure.
Just do that.
I've got a hotline I can call.
If my face starts sagging on one side and I start getting incoherent, or I should say more incoherent than usual, just let's scrap the broadcast and get me to a hospital. Okay. Question for you. I'm looking at college football's rankings right now. Number 1 is Texas, as you know. Number 2 is Ohio State. Number 3 is Oregon. This is obviously a very big game, and I will have a follow-up question on this.
Yes.
But what I want to do is I just want to run through just the top 10. And if there's somebody outside the top 10, you can throw them in. But I'm very curious how many of the teams you think right now, we've had 5 weeks of college football, 6 weeks for a couple teams, but 5 weeks of college football, right? How many of these teams do you think can win the national championship? So we'll put your big sports brain on this. We'll start with Texas. I assume you think they are a team that can win the championship.
Yep.
Ohio State, yes?
Yes.
Oregon.
Yes.
How much of that changes if they beat Ohio State today?
Then it turns into yes.
Okay. And if Ohio State loses, it remains a...
Depends on how they lose.
Ooh.
If they lose, like whoever loses this game.
If Oregon just runs Ohio State out of Autzen Stadium with their tails between their legs,
dog walks them
with a 40-point loss,
then no.
Then
no.
Okay.
No, that's because to me, Oregon right now feels like a fringe title contender. They should make the playoffs, and if you're an Oregon fan and they don't make the playoffs, you should be disappointed.
There is a ESPN college football predictor.
Yep.
Who do you think has the highest odds? It's 92%.
I believe it's Texas.
It is not.
Oh, you're right. It's Ohio State.
They have. Oh, you've looked at this.
I've seen it on occasion.
Okay.
Football guy.
Yeah. No, so it's Ohio State is 92%, Texas is 91% to make the playoff.
Yep.
Where do you think Oregon's number is?
It's in the 40s,
No.
I think. Oh, has it gone up to the 60s?
It is 66%.
Okay.
So that's where it sits right now. We don't need to go through all of those because it's kind of dumb.
Right.
Okay. So if Oregon wins a close game, it's a yes.
Yep.
And it's still a yes for Ohio State. If
Yes.
Oregon, you said dog walks them.
If they dog walk them, or if there's like a big injury, like if Will Howard goes like a close game, final drive to win, Will Howard and Jeremiah Smith both get caught in an explosion.
They run into each other.
They both
they run into each other and their
collapse
arms
onto the
fall off
field.
like they're Lego pieces.
Yes.
Yeah.
Then, all right, probably not Ohio State. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So barring
The
any
funny thing
crazy
about
injury-
Ohio State is who knows who knows who the backup is. But just remember, I believe it was the JT Barrett years.
Well, JT Barrett was the backup because it was Braxton Miller, and then it was Patterson who came in, and he won the whole thing.
And who would have been the guy behind him?
It would have been Burrow, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would have been Joe Burrow.
Yeah.
So if they had gotten enough injuries at Ohio State, Joe Burrow would have been thrown in there. And I know he wasn't as good his first year out at LSU as he was the second year where he was the greatest college quarterback in one season ever in the history of the sport. Still, it would have been Joe Burrow, which is pretty hilarious to think about.
Right.
So Ohio State, I actually don't worry about them with injuries as much as I do Oregon.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that is I would agree with you there. Okay, 5-0 Penn State is number 4.
I think that today will tell us.
Okay.
right now they have all the makings, and they look like they are a much better team, not just defensively, but specifically offensively.
Penn
And
State at USC today. You
Aller
think
can be the
that's the game that gives you?
because if it's a close game, then I go back to the Oregon.
All right.
But if they smack USC, because they should, they're a tier above this USC team. USC good, not great.
Okay.
If you can smack this USC team, then yes.
Okay. 4-1 Georgia.
Yes.
6-0 Miami.
How good is the ACC? They as good as
I don't know, but who have they beaten outside of the ACC?
They beat a very, very bad Florida team.
Yep.
And when you look at Mario Cristobal teams, he loves to keep games close, and Cam Ward loves to make these just stupid decisions. And so far this year, you've been able to overcome them because your defense has been fantastic, and then Cam Ward decides to not be stupid.
Well, and here's the interesting thing about Miami is let's go to the old predictor. Where do you have Miami for making the playoff?
I mean, I actually like Clemson a little bit more than I like Miami right now.
Sure, that's fair.
I would probably say they're in the 60s.
76%?
76%.
76%.
Because of the week. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, their schedule the rest of the way does not include Clemson. So they would have to play in the championship game, the ACC championship game. But Louisville, Florida State, Duke, Georgia Tech, Wake Forest, Syracuse.
Yeah, just a gauntlet.
You got a. I was going to say you got a loss scheduled in there because I don't see one, so they could very easily go undefeated through the regular season. Would you put 2 ACC teams if Clemson ends up staying 1 loss and beats them? So you have 2 1-loss teams in the ACC. There's 12 spots.
Depends on how they look. Clemson has looked like a wagon. Like after the Georgia game, they've done is blow teams out and cover.
Yep.
And I mean, they're even kind of doing that right now against Wake Forest. So
it'd be wild to think at the beginning of the year that you could have 2 ACC teams, but the way that schedule goes,
right,
and your only loss ends up being a Clemson. That's why these stupid conference championship games drive me crazy, because your Notre Dame Fighting Irish will get advantage by not playing one. The Big 12 always has kind of they've always done the round robin thing, and I've always felt like that was kind of a weird championship game because it's almost always a rematch. This year they actually have a few more teams, but then you have no divisions in now the Big 10 and the SEC, so it's very, very weird to me. I assume that you would put number 7. Well, actually, I don't know how you feel about this. A loss to Vanderbilt changes things a lot. Yes. Alabama at 4-1. Can they win a championship?
Yes, I think they can. The reason for that is I think the reason they lost to Vanderbilt is their defense is young. They have a ton of freshmen. They are going to
have changed philosophies too, new coaching staff and all of that. Like one hiccup doesn't murder
they're
them
gonna
this
get
year.
Demonstrably better.
I would agree with that.
Because they're going to face more live bullets. So yes, I think they will.
Can I ask you another question this is a much bigger, is there such thing as a good loss?
Yes, I think you might see one in Autzen.
Could this be a good loss though
to Vanderbilt?
To Vanderbilt?
Ooh, that one I don't know.
Because you just beat Georgia.
Yep.
In a game that you let them come all the way back in. But if you go through with a new head coach thinking that you're unbeatable, I think that may have been worse for them going into the biggest playoff we've ever seen in college football history.
Which is fair. Now, that being said, Kalen DeBoer, this ain't his first rodeo when it comes to these big games.
I know, but for the kids.
Yes.
For a bunch of 18 and 20-year-olds
young,
that are going to be, sniffing their own farts and loving their head coach and going, he's better than Saban. You go out of the gates replacing a absolute legend and you roll through your schedule undefeated going in there. Those are going to be some big heads. And if you can't fit your helmet on, you can't play football. Right?
I think that's actually how it works.
Yeah.
If you can't get the helmet on,
you have to wear it. It's an equipment requirement, so
that's
you have to go out there. I mean, I know Alabama
People
has the money.
forget.
I know how Alabama has the money to just make larger helmets, but at some point it makes it difficult. There are 3 teams left in the top 10, and this is the only ones I wanted to hit. So Tennessee just lost to Arkansas. How do you feel about them?
I am going to say no.
Okay.
And last week I would have said yes.
Fair enough.
And that's because of the play of Nico. I can't pronounce his last name, so I'm not even going to attempt to.
You don't have to.
Right now, what you see at times is why he was such a highly recruited player, and also typical freshman things. Like against Arkansas, in that final drive when you are down, he made one of the best throws I've ever seen, where he's on the run, throwing back against his body, 40 yards down the field, hits a guy in double coverage, makes a great play. The very next throw, throws it over a kid's head by 20 yards, and then runs out of bounds on the final play.
Iamaleava.
Nico
Iamaleava.
He's like Ichiro.
Is that good? Iamaleava.
That's pretty
Yeah,
good.
but Suzuki.
Better than what I
Ichiro
could have done.
Suzuki. Okay. Ole Miss, they're only lost to Kentucky. They're
No.
5-1. No.
No.
And-
I don't
and-
like how Jackson Darts played.
And you've already brought them up. Clemson. They're 4-1. They've got the one loss to Georgia.
Gosh, would I have said no a couple weeks
The
ago?
fact that they were
But
sitting at 10 that's why I
Right.
thought this became very intriguing
then
as we
you
wrap
keep-
it up with Clemson.
you keep watching them, and Dabo's done it before, and
Mhm.
Klubnik looks like he's turned a corner, and all of a sudden Georgia, like you played Georgia at full strength, but Georgia isn't at full strength, and they haven't been at full strength for a while now.
Yeah.
So has Georgia taken a step back? Like Carson Beck, in my eyes, like that guy's taken 2 steps back on like what I thought he could have been or what he was. Gosh, maybe Clemson gets a hard maybe from me. A hard maybe.
Your strong yeses, Texas, Ohio State, Georgia, Alabama, Clemson. Is there a Final Four in those 5 teams you would actually want to see? If the Final Four ends up being a combination of those 5 teams, Texas, Ohio State, Georgia, Alabama, Clemson, would that satisfy you in the 12-team playoff?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, but to be honest with you, though, I think the beauty of right now is you're at the halfway point in the season. The problem with the 4 team was there were times where teams got better as the season went along, and you've
True.
got teams that have rough losses early that were eliminated, that at the end of the year, you're like, dude, last year, I loved watching that Arizona team under Jed Fish.
Yep.
So which team?
Well, that was my next question. Is there a team outside of the top 10 that you think could win
be fun?
Could win. Like this, we're almost to the halfway point. I don't know how many shows that you and I will do the rest of the season, but I do like hearing your thoughts. And next week will be a fun time to ask Will the same question in my head. But is there another team outside of the top 10 that you think could genuinely win it? Iowa State's undefeated. Notre Dame had a terrible loss. LSU is sitting there. BYU's perfect. Boise State is 17, and we expect to be undefeated. They're not going to win it all, but
No, they're not going to win it all. But as I go down the list, and I'm doing it quickly, I think Clemson is probably your furthest.
That's kind of where I stopped too.
Where you could have a legit title team. But are there going to be fun teams? Hell yeah.
Dude, I'm looking at Boise. Boise State is going to be one of those fun teams to have in there. Absolutely.
LSU, like if LSU beats Ole Miss, which very easily could happen.
Yeah, no question.
That's a fun team because they throw the ball all over the yard. So they're never truly out of a game.
Could LSU win it?
No.
Okay.
Their defense isn't good enough in my eyes. A Tennessee team too, like if Nico can take that next step forward, they're a fun team.
If you had an upset, if one of those teams out of that top 5 win the whole thing, then it will be a bittersweet moment, because it will be like, oh my God, this playoff worked so well, and then you just go, why didn't you do this earlier?
Right.
Because I think that's been the argument against it. Is it's still going to be the same teams.
Yep.
So I would really love to know if there is an outside shot. Oregon is, I think, the team that has the best shot that has never won.
Yeah.
And is the most fun. So that's, again, why today's game is so big.
It matters, man. There's still so much more. Like there's a world where Boise State gets a bye.
Come on.
There's a world.
It's good.
Because the Big 12, they all are kind of the same.
It's the fact that if you could get to a point where you have to argue over who the last team is this year, what we've seen so far, it would be a huge bummer. It would be disappointing right now. I mean, obviously these teams have to play each other, but there's a realistic chance that you could have, a handful of undefeated teams.
I hate Rutgers. I hate them so much.
All right.
They're such a stupid team. They're lining up for a field goal and it's a perfect snap and the holder.
All right.
I hate them. I hate
Before we get to the Victor Rico's traffic and weather update, we have to get to a scoreboard update. So let's do that thing now. Do you want to start with the Rutgers score?
Stupid Rutgers is down 14-0 at home to Wisconsin, and I hate them.
Do you hate them?
Yeah. I want to fight them.
If Army goes undefeated, do they make the playoff? They're beating UAB 34-3 right now.
You want to talk about a fun team?
Dude.
I think that they might. There's a world that
Army.
they play
It's
Navy a couple times.
It's halftime. It is 34-3.
Gosh,
something.
Army's
It's UAB
so
though.
UAB is no good.
Yeah.
Right now in Tuscaloosa, Alabama is up 14-12 at halftime over South Carolina.
It's 1:01 left in the second, and Iowa is up 17-7 on UW.
1:31 left to go in the first half. Number 10 Clemson up 28-14 over Wake Forest.
I know you guys wanted me to get back to this, and I'm back to it finally. Ball State up 20-7 at the end of the second over winless Kent State.
The greatness that is Ball State.
Oh, what a game. Could you imagine being at that game right now? That is what we call action.
Beautiful. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Will Ortner at the Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand on the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan. Luke, kick it back to me.
I will. Right now it's time for a Ducks game day traffic and weather every 10 minutes, brought to you by Victor Rico's Mexican Food. Order Victor Rico's for your game day celebration in-store or online for pickup or delivery at victorricos.com.
Thanks, Luke. Right now, as you're going through, it's still going to be about a hour and 43 minutes making your way to Autzen Stadium. There's some slowdown going on in Salem. It's looking like it's almost going to get red. A little bit north of Albany, there's some slowdown. And then you've got some Smokies hanging out right around the stadium in Eugene. It's 59 degrees and sunny right now in Eugene. Looks like game time. It's going to be about 75 when the Ducks take on Ohio State.
Hey, it's Suk, and I want to talk directly to all my contractors out there. I know for flooring,
fan just text us if you want to do that. All texts on the program are brought to you by the Vancouver Ford text line. Your dollar goes further at Vancouver Ford. They treat you right before, during, and after the sale. Visit VancouverFord.com. The text line is fantastic, and I bring it up because I mentioned a delay on one of my TVs. Cable guy came in with multiple theories. Only problem is, after reading through all of the delightful thoughts, we're streaming in the studio, so that doesn't help me at all. Are you here watching the game? What is your day like, young man?
I gotta go pick up some dry cleaning, and then my parents still have a bunch of wedding food at their house.
Oh, nice.
And I am poor.
There you go.
So I'm gonna go eat wedding food and watch the game. Watch the first half over there.
Yep.
And then I'll race over here, and I will get to watch the main event, which is Jordan Schultz watching the game, and then it'll be also the game.
Give the kids the rundown on the programming today. Game day starts at noon.
Well, technically, doesn't it start at 9?
That's what I said. I heard Jeff Russ doing an update saying that it did not start with the tailgate show, which I almost gave him a flying crossbody, but I thought better of it.
All right, hold on. I'm going through the document. I got it right here. So it started at 9 with us.
Damn right.
Then you've got 11 a.m. Ducks Coaches Show Encore. The great Jeff Rust is here cutting it up right now. You're going to want to make sure that you check out that. At noon, you got Ducks Game Day, Andy Dirt Johnson, Dusty Harrett, Anthony Newman. Going to be great. Then at 2:30, you've got the Network pregame show. 4:30, you've got Ducks play-by-play. 8 p.m., you've got the post-game show. 9 p.m., post-game scoreboard show.
And that's you.
That's Buck. That's me. That's Schultzy, breaking down all of the hot Oregon-Ohio State action.
I wanted to make sure the kids got the full scope of what you're doing today. You are bookending Ducks programming.
I'm opening and bookending.
This is going to be
opening and bookending.
Book opening and bookending, well eating wedding food, and picking up your dry cleaning. You, sir, are a man of the people.
There's few who can do it like me. You know what? I think I might even get a walk-in.
What I will tell you, the best segment that you will hear as far as breaking down this game all day will be what to watch. And we do that next. What to watch within the game. But first, it's time for a game day traffic and weather update. We do these every 10 minutes, brought to you by Victor Rico's Mexican Food. Order Victor Rico's for your game day celebration in store or online for pickup or delivery at victorricos.com. Here's Will.
Thank you, Luke. It's going to take you an hour 45 right now to get down to Autzen Stadium. By the time you would arrive, if you left at this moment, it would be 12:27. You got a couple Smokies just outside of Portland, so make sure that you're going the speed limit there. A couple Smokies down in Eugene. You're going to see a little bit of slowdown just north of Salem and just north of Albany. It is 59 degrees and sunny. It's a beautiful October 12th day down in Eugene. At game time, it looks like it's going to be about 74 degrees and sunny when the Ducks take on Ohio State.
So what are you reading?
I'm checking out the ratings on the new TVs.
Watch. It's where we tell you the matchups to watch in the game. We kind of went into this game in some pretty excruciating detail because Will Ortner with me is so bright and so analytical with the games. We've already talked about Jordan Birch. He had a non-contact lower body injury. He had to be helped off the field during practice yesterday. That is a huge deal. So obviously we were watching warm-ups to see, A, if he's good to go, and if he is good to go, it'll be obviously important to watch how healthy he is.
Right.
You said this is a game that's settled in the trenches. I buy that. You, as an offensive lineman, will be able to watch that with a little bit more detail. But the fun thing about these games is the big play possibilities.
Mm-hmm.
And Dylan Gabriel, I think that what I'm watching for is what he does when the pressure's on. 3rd and long, 4th and short. If there's these big moments, I want to see kind of how his decision-making engine is. And is it taking chances or is it living to play another down? And I know that there'll be probably opportunities that it does both, but I think that is big for this game and it's big for the rest of the year because if they lose this game, the rest of the season will be big moments at every turn. You have to beat everybody, I think, from there on out. Depending on whether or not you get it back into the Big Ten championship game, you get another shot at Ohio State. It matters to me because this is the biggest game of the year. The other thing you said was he keys in on Tez Johnson a lot. Do they use him as a decoy? I'm with you on all of those things. What I'd really like to know is who are the big playmakers that we need to watch outside of the trenches on Ohio State? What are you watching for? You said something that has been tickling my brain this whole time, which is Chip Kelly has shown us way less than he has to offer. So what is it with Ohio State that you're really watching for in this game?
The guy that I'm going to be watching for Ohio State, and it's going to be the X factor, is going to be Will Howard. It's going to be the quarterback because what I think that Chip Kelly will do and what he's always done is he's wanted that running quarterback so he can add them into – it's called the +1 run game because when you hand the ball off to a running back, you're losing a player essentially. It's 10 on 11 because the quarterback isn't going to block anyone. And how often do people fall for their fakes? Well, that's why you start adding him into the +1 run game because you get an extra
design
blocker.
runs and then RPO and all of that.
And I think you're going to see a ton of RPO because where Howard had his biggest plays and his most success when he was at his previous school at Kansas State was when he was reading defensive ends and then reading linebackers after on a triple option, the new age version of it, which is I'm going to read the D end. If I pull it, now I'm running and I've got a bubble screen to my right or I've got a slant. And if that backer comes to take me, I throw it. If he doesn't come to take me, I run. He has shown that he is proficient in it. And if they win this football game, the Buckeyes, it's going to be because Will Howard has a gigantic game.
Okay, so explain this to me because I've always heard the RPO from the offensive side of it.
Yep.
You have it's kind of a triple option of sorts, right?
It is a triple option depending on how you run it. You can even run it with
but it's
a
different.
quad
It's
or
different
two.
than the triple option where you've got 2 backs and whatever. It's not the traditional triple option. As quick as you can. How do you stop it? What does Oregon have to do if that's the plan? How do you stop it?
You would consistently have to have a crash player and a scrape player. So your crash player is going to play the running back. Your scrape player is going to play the quarterback.
Who are the guys for Oregon
that would be Mateo Uiagalelei, and then that would be your Bryce Betcher, or it would be Bassa.
I love Betcher,
and he's so good. And they have to be on, and you have to do your job. You have to trust that Uiagalelei will do his job, and that Betcher will do his.
Coach's Show.